Tropical Depression Aghon moving past Mindanao on today's Tropical Weather Bulletin. And now the latest around the wide world of tropics. Tropical Weather Bulletin for May 24. So around the world we finally have a Northern Hemisphere tropical depression that was declared late last night, UTC, and it ends a 146-year record of the latest start to the Northern Hemisphere season. At least that's how far back we have to go to find a storm that formed so late this year. Well, it's 8 days until the Atlantic hurricane season begins, and there are no areas of interest, but there is one little disturbance there. The National Hurricane Center marked that, by the way, at 10%, but it really isn't expected to become tropical. I think they're covering all their bases, but who knows? It's moving northeast. Day 10 of the Pacific hurricane season, and it looks like this, very quiet right now, a little bit, should we say, unusual? I'm not fully sure on that. There's still really a lot of time before we start to see things ramp up, but of course we did have that chance a week or two ago that really failed. In the Western Pacific, Tropical Depression Aghon, that's the Philippine name that's been issued. The JMA are currently running with Tropical Depression status as well. If they get up to Tropical Storm status, they will name it. It is moving a little bit west of forecast. It will be piling through the eastern part of the Visayas region shortly. And in the North Indian Ocean, we've still not called it yet. 90% chance for this area of interest. The circulation is extremely broad and I'm not satisfied with it just yet, but IMD have called it a depression and it is expected to become a strong storm in very short order. In the Southwest Indian Ocean, there's no areas of interest to point at right now, but you can see those clouds near the top left. That's still part of Iali, would you believe, off the coast of Kenya and even Somalia. So certainly not dying off completely just yet. Well, this is Aghon right now. It's 87 kilometers from Siargao, 111 from Homonhon Island, 121 from Dinagat, 134 from Guyuan in Samar, and 214 from Tacloban. Moving northwesterly right now, it is expected to move through Samar in a very short amount of time, overnight tonight, and then move on through the eastern part of Luzon and Catanduanes and then towards the north, where it's expected to rapidly intensify just as it leaves the coast and could become a typhoon in as little as 2 days. Let's check satellite imagery now, looking at Aghon first of all. And you can see its general movement is northwesterly. If you can find a center within all that, it's probably just under that new burst of convection, very close to some of those islands, and moving on towards land. It's certainly not turning north enough for it to avoid making landfall or a multitude of landfalls over the next 12 to 24 hours. Here's a super close-up on the rapid scan imagery for Himawari 9, and you can see it's slightly glitchy, but it's progress there northwesterly near some of those islands. Here's the Bay of Bengal system. Look at that, extremely large compared to the tropical depression and very broad. I'm still not satisfied with the northern side of it, but it really is getting close to becoming a tropical cyclone. It's actually lost a little bit of wind in the last 12 hours, but I expect it will tighten up again in the next 24 to 48 hours and rapidly intensify to landfall. There's another look at that Western Pacific system again, still Invest 93W according to the JTWC. They've not called it 1W yet, although I think they should. Looking at some more of the satellite enhancements, you can see quite a bit of convection blowing up, two banks of it, one near the center and the other one to the northwest over northern Samar right now, so probably looking at very high amounts of rainfall there at the moment, and we are expecting substantial amounts of rain totals. There's a precipitation viewer as well, depicting that as well over Samar. This is radar, which isn't quite as good in those areas by the looks of things, but you get a general idea that the rainfall across the whole region is increasing. Here's a proper look at the Invest 99B in the Bay of Bengal, and looks like it is continuing towards the northeast at the moment slowly, and we expect it will curve northwards and then northwestwards. Still uncertainty about where exactly this one is going to land, but given how large it is, we could be looking at storm conditions over several hundred miles of coastline across Bangladesh and eastern India. Rainfall showing not too much across land areas at this time. And there's one more view of the target area from the Himawari 9 satellite showing the tropical depression. Here's the Atlantic right now, looking across the US eastern seaboard, and some big bursts of convection once again over the central plains today. We are at another enhanced risk today and tomorrow and Sunday. And this is the Caribbean Sea right now, and you can see that area of interest on the northeastern side there as we went by. And this is off the coast of Africa. Not too much going on here at the moment, but things will liven up later. And this is the eastern Pacific, a few little areas of convection, particularly off Guatemala and eastern Mexico, but not too much to talk about. And there's a wide shot of the western Pacific once again, showing tropical depression Aghon moving northwestwards there. And this is a similar size comparison there. Just look how large that tropical cyclone is, soon to be cyclone in the Bay of Bengal, throwing up huge amounts of convection. It's going to be a massive rainmaker, that's for sure. Sea surface temperatures still increasing in parts of the eastern Pacific at over 32 degrees Celsius in one or two spots south of Guerrero and Oaxaca, Mexico. Looking very impressive indeed. The Atlantic also throwing up some good SSTs where that area of interest is right now. It's just on the borderline of 26 degrees Celsius waters, so it really shouldn't form. The Gulf Stream looking great. Gulf of Mexico starting to look good as well. Western Pacific also very high amounts of sea surface temperatures in the South China Sea, but still only just extending to Hong Kong, the 26 degrees Celsius isotherm, and still looking really good in the Philippine Sea. But check out the Bay of Bengal with extremely warm waters. This large system over it will certainly put those temperatures down a little bit, but we're still looking at a large pile of 32 degrees Celsius waters there, which this system can maximize upon. Southwest Indian Ocean, temperatures of course degrading here, only just clinging on to 26 degrees in Mauritius, and those temperatures are receding. This is the Australian region, and you can see that those temperatures are decreasing also along the coast of most of the continent, with still a few areas of 27-28 degrees Celsius waters offshore. And this is the South Pacific looking like this right now. Still decent temperatures in the lower latitudes, but away from New Caledonia now those temperatures are really starting to fade away. Sea surface temperature anomalies look like this: extremely warm compared to average in the main region of the Atlantic, up to 4 degrees above. Eastern Pacific is generally just above average there, and in the Western Pacific a similar story. Bay of Bengal very much above average as well, up to 4 degrees above towards the coast of Bangladesh and West Bengal. Oceanic heat content is still increasing overall, obviously. In the Eastern Pacific there's still a few good spots there, and that is becoming more common. Western Pacific, extremely high values across the Philippine Sea, and a few spots now extending into the South China Sea as well. In the Atlantic, those temperatures also getting better too. Oceanic heat content there, high values extending from south of Hispaniola through Jamaica, through western Cuba and into the Gulf of Mexico, and also south of Puerto Rico and east of the Lesser Antilles. So let's take a look at the GFS computer model for the next 5 days while it takes this storm through the eastern part of the Philippines, tropical depression Aghon, and then moving northeastwards. As it turns there, in about 3 days time or less, it will intensify quite markedly and become a typhoon off the coast of Luzon, safely offshore. Looking at a close-up here again, watch again here as it passes those islands. There it is, moving offshore and then really intensifying quickly, becoming a category 2 or 3 typhoon as it passes east of Okinawa through the Daitojima Islands. And this is the Bay of Bengal, this very large system wrapping around, and it quickly intensifies as well, getting to category 2 status there as it moves in towards Kolkata and that general region, and then off towards the northeast across Bangladesh, and slows down as it does so as well. So that's why we're also concerned about very heavy rainfall from this, but a huge footprint of tropical storm force winds there extending across that whole bay area. Looking at precipitation expectations for the next 7 days for both of these systems, obviously they're going to be very high, and the main spots that we're looking at now, on top of anything that's already occurred of course, We're looking at wherever this system makes landfall in the Bay of Bengal, with some monsoonal activity to its east affecting Myanmar very adversely. But look at the highest amount of rainfall there, getting up towards 20 inches near where the cyclone makes landfall. That's 500 millimeters. For the Philippines, we're looking at a total further increase of 300 millimeters of rain roughly, and as it moves towards the northeast after that, the rain rate will continue to increase. Longer range, there's nothing else to track. It's just this typhoon moving off towards the northeast. It eventually gets swallowed up and moves across the whole North Pacific region. You can watch that again in a moment. Not too much else to say for the moderate range. This is day 5 to 10. The typhoon there losing its strength but becoming post-tropical and extratropical, and eventually it wraps up once again over there as it moves towards the Pacific Northwest and Pacific Canada. Scan the barcode and that will take you through to the Force 13 merch store, where you can take a look at all our items as well as our full season and individual storm animations on request. Our Still Waiting for Hone t-shirt is still waiting for you as well. We're still waiting for that storm. The silly range looks like this. Well, it's the Atlantic, and well, people are going to get excited about this alert for a very tiny cyclone actually that becomes a hurricane there northwest of Jamaica and through eastern Cuba. This is day 10 to 16, so I wouldn't get excited about this yet. Not that we should be getting excited at all, but there it is, moving northeastwards across most of its life from Central America through Cuba and through the Bahamas northeastwards in the 1st to 2nd week of June. That could still change and probably will. Western Pacific, there's also some action in the super long range as well in the first week of June. A huge cyclone blowing up in the South China Sea and becomes quite a powerful one as well there. Maybe a second one forming in the Western Pacific, but there's that first system, that large one, becoming probably a Category 3 typhoon by the end of that run. But that is day 16, so I would not take any heed of this at all just yet. Just an idea of what might be coming up round the corner. Well, on this day, it was May 24th, 1971, and although it didn't look that great on satellite, Agatha was apparently a Category 2 hurricane. We also had what was left of Carla in the Western Pacific, and Dina had just formed and was building up to a fairly strong landfall in the Philippine Islands. It was taking aim at this point on this day on May 24th, 1971. Agatha peaked as a Category 2, which really got that season going that year in the Eastern Pacific. We are code orange. Back to today, we are looking at the first name on the Atlantic naming list, which will be Alberto. In the Eastern Pacific, Aletta, and in the Central Pacific, it is still Hone. We still haven't had the international name given for the Western Pacific yet. We've just got the Philippine name, Aghon. But the next name is Awinyar. In the North Indian Ocean, it is Rumal. That's a TD right now as well. They still haven't named that one, but we're on the cusp of getting both of those named internationally any time now, maybe even just after this bulletin. In the Southern Hemisphere, the next name in the Australian region is Robin, the Southwest Indian Ocean, Jeremy, and in the South Pacific, it is Pitta. That's all from today's Tropical Weather Bulletin. We'll be back again tomorrow.
Become an Ultimate Fan today.